Welcome, and thank you for joining this Anova webinar. I'm Bridget Perino, SVP of Customer Growth at Anova. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's exciting to have so many of you on the call today. There's clearly a lot of interest in learning more about our Anova Unify platform, so thank you all for tuning in. We'll be guiding you through the platform and its benefits today, showing you these in a demo as well, and also providing you details on just how easy it is to start on Unify or migrate over to Unify from an existing Anova system. So we'd like to make this session interactive. Please use our Q&A facility. It's on the bottom of your webinar controls there to ask us a question at any point, rather than using the chat facility, please. We do also have a couple of poll questions for you today, and there'll be an audience Q&A at the end. So if we have a question that comes in on the moment and we have time for it, we'll also jump to that question. So feel free to put those in as we go through the event today. And of course, on exit, we have the all-important exit survey that will pop up whenever you leave the event. So please do take a moment to rate the event and tell us what you found most relevant today for your organization. There's just 2 questions at the end here. So let's get right down to it. I'm delighted to introduce my colleagues today at this Anova Unify Revolution presentation. First up, we have Daniel Librelato and Avril Botma. Daniel is our Product Engagement Manager at Anova, directly helping customers implement and maximize value from their investment in Anova's digitalization solutions. Daniel leverages a rich background in data analytics and engineering. He's a 9-year veteran with Anova and instrumental in helping establish Anova's influential role in the propane industry as an innovator and a business transformer. He's also represented Anova at the World LPG Association's Global Technology Conference, helping us take home 2 consecutive wins for innovation in business improvement and also in distribution operations. And he is an NPGA Young Gasser 30 Under 30 award recipient. Welcome, Daniel. It's great to have you back on the Anova webinar stage this week. And also we have Avril Botma. She is the Director of Unified Migrations at Anova. So formerly she headed customer success in our LPG, fuels and lubricants sections. She has over 20 years of experience in customer success in the gases industry. And today, her focus is ensuring that Anova customers and the customers of our partners, and thank you, Bergquist, for being online and bringing your team along with you again this week, and helps the customers of Anova and our partners move seamlessly to the Unified platform. Thank you. So thank you for being with us, Avril.
Thanks, Bridget. Great being here.
Great. So before we launch into the content today, we'd like to just do a quick poll, one of the 2 questions we have for you today. So if we can launch our polls, please. We just want to get a level set of who's on the line today. How many propane tanks do you currently serve in your business? We can bring that poll up. You'll use your webinar controls to vote, and we'll hope to get a couple of let me just launch that poll there. Okay, so there's a few choices in there: less than 15,000, 15 to 25,000, 25,000 plus, and it may not be applicable to you. So let's see if we can get 80% engaged on this poll straight away. Just give it another second. 72%, 75, going for the 80. Oh, it's very interesting, actually, these results. Very interesting. Okay, I'm gonna close the poll there at 78%, and we'll launch those results and share them with you. There you go. So it's quite interesting. We've got almost a balanced set of folks on the line here, right across the board. But the larger companies there are edging out just slightly. They're at 31% of the folks coming from having 25,000 plus tanks that they service. So that's great. Thanks everyone for doing that. Appreciate that. Okay, well, let's move on then. Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. Breakthrough advanced analytics for propane to drive unparalleled insight into your business, find new efficiencies, reduce costs and grow profits, reliable tank monitoring, and sophisticated built-in marketing. As a marketer at heart, To me, this is a very exciting capability, being able to segment your market, slicing and dicing and delivering targeted marketing campaigns. There's nothing like it built into a Propane asset manager platform today. So breakthrough, advanced analytics for Propane, reliable tank monitoring, sophisticated built-in marketing, all in one platform. Introducing Anova Unify. And who better to talk to Anova Unify today than Daniel Librelato, who's going to walk us through this incredible platform. Daniel, over to you.
Thanks, Bridget. I just want to check you can hear me properly.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. All righty.
I'd speak up a little bit though, mate.
All right. No problem. Is that any better? You get a little closer to my
little better, yeah.
All
Thank
righty.
you.
Okay. All right, if we go to the next slide then. So Unify, we've spent 2 years developing, and it's our state-of-the-art platform. It really brings together and expands on all the functionality of our WesRock, GasLog, and ISA legacy platforms. Up here, we have kind of 6 key areas of improvement and features. So we'll focus on a few of them. To start off, I think anybody that may have already seen it, and for those of us that helped design it, it's a very updated and modern interface. It does allow for more seamless movement between various operational views, whether you're looking at devices or tank level. So we've designed it kind of user in mind to be seamless, easy to navigate, and to get the critical data to you as quick as possible. It also follows and adheres to the latest security standards, be that North America or Europe. It's very important given the state of cybersecurity in the world. The platform is cloud native. It's easily accessible, whether we've got the downloadable applications on your smartphone, or we have the platform itself that runs on a web browser. You've got a single login to get into all the applications. And you don't need to track and manage any version updates. We do all of that on our side. So when you log in, you get the latest version of Unify, and that'll give you all your functionality. Some real important changes that we've made that are somewhat different from the legacy platforms that we've run is that we now align to your organizational structure. And we talked a little bit about this on our Transform webinar last week, but whether you're an enterprise size customer with multiple regions, district and distribution zones, or whether you've got 2 or 3 branch locations or even a single location, we not only align to your organizational structure and make sure that we capture that in Unify, but we also ensure that the back office software that you're using matches up to our system as well. So we're kind of bringing everything in a line, and that'll you'll see that in the next couple of slides. Closely related to that is that we tailor the user experience. So if you're a branch manager in New York and you have another branch in Pennsylvania, when each of those managers log in, they will see only the sites, tanks, and devices under their management. So we're not going to allow, we can, but if you're that branch manager, we're not going to show them things that aren't relevant to their day-to-day operations. And we can not only tailor the level of data they see, but also the applications they have access to. And we're going to look at 4 or 5 of the applications that run on Unify today, and keep in mind when you're seeing those that any user could be set up to access all of them or only some of them. So a tailored user experience is what we've implemented there. I think perhaps relevant to people that have used our applications and monitoring software before, and I think the biggest wins for the Unify platform that affect your day-to-day use is that now we're going to have a single source for all your device and application data. So in Unify, when you log in there, you will see all your devices on one platform, whether they are legacy WesRock or GasLog devices, or even third-party devices that you may have. We have the ability to pull that data into the platform as well. So we're aiming to have a single source there to give you a view on all the tank levels and all the tanks you manage and all the devices as well. So that's vastly different from what we used to run. And also you have all your applications on one platform as well. So Unify not only provides access to your device operations and reporting applications, which very much pertain to your day-to-day usage, but we also have Anova's Transform business intelligence software, our advanced analytics functionality that we discussed last week on the webinar, and also field operations and deployment tools that all run on Unify. And finally, Anova Connect, which is our digital engagement and marketing engine. So when you log in, you're not going to have to remember multiple URLs, multiple passwords. It really is, one platform for everything, be that device or application, and one login for each user. So central themes there, it's all in one spot, easily accessible, and very user-friendly and forward. If we have a look at the next slide here, what this is really showing is Unify is that central point for everything. So you can see device management, operations, analytics, and consumer engagement as kind of the 4 core applications that run on the platform. But importantly, not only is it secure, data encrypted at rest and in transit to adhere to new security laws and regulations, we're pulling in monitor data from one or many sources, be that, again, legacy monitors of any kind. And really importantly for Unify is it provides then a single source of integration to your back office software. So instead of having multiple integrations run from various platforms, now we can run a set of bi-directional APIs from Unify into your back office software. And that allows for us to not only provide level data and device diagnostics, which is historically what we have done, but also retrieve automatic account updates from your back office software, pull in third-party monitor level data, and for the advanced analytics applications, we can provide forecasted level and other crucial information to your back office to leverage also. So it expands the API functionality, but also provides one interface for you instead of multiple to manage. So we're going to go through a couple of key areas. I think we're going to focus on what I call the core applications first. So you see operations, device management, and field ops here. Starting off with operations, this is really the key set of applications that you use to access critical data about your monitored assets, be that level data or the reporting functionality that comes with it. You can see a picture here of a dashboard that's showing device state. We also have dashboards that pertain to level data. So a key development we made was to provide actionable dashboards that allow not only snapshots, but for you to drill down further. So as a practical example, if you were to click on, the 10 devices there with low batteries, it would then show you, here are the devices that currently have a low battery issue, and you would send the service tech out to swap those over. Some key advantages over the legacy platform as far as the operations app is concerned is the ability to create custom reports, but not only customize the filters and the fields that you include on that report, but we can now mix in device and tank information into the same report as well. So for current users that are on this call, one kind of inherent limit on the legacy gas log at least platform was that you could never mix the device battery with a tank level in a single report. But in Unify, you have complete control over tank, device, and customer information that goes into any report. So you can have the customer's address, the current tank level, and maybe you want to see the current battery that device has and the network signal strength that it's achieving over the calls that it's made. And we can mix all of that together. In addition, you can make reports private or public. So public could be scheduled and shared among your dispatch teams if it's a level data report. But if you're managing the devices as a branch manager, perhaps you just want a snapshot report that shows everything, but only for you to look at. And you can create a private report that you'll see when you log in, but no one else in the organization will, and kind of reduces the overall clutter for other users as well. If we look towards devices, that's the place to essentially manage the day-to-day health of the devices, whether that's checking configurations for communications or managing stock between different branch locations. We'll provide device detail specifically by the hardware type. So they'll show critical information for the day-to-day maintenance for your service teams, including battery, temperature, network connection, and another key function that we built into Unify was this concept of a warehouse or like a stock room. And what that allows for is device asset tracking to a degree. And a practical example of that is, let's say Mrs. Smith is in branch A. Branch A delivers to Mrs. Smith. If that account or tank was being monitored, and for any reason we had to remove a tank monitor from that tank, we're going to automatically associate that with the branch or the stock room in the branch or district that was making that delivery. So physically the monitor's been removed, but logically we're going to try and track the movement of that monitor over time. And I think we've all been in the situation where we found monitors, on the floor of a truck or in a box in an office somewhere. We're going to provide you the information to say, well, it was last at Mrs. Smith's house, and now it should be back in this district in the storeroom. So device asset tracking tends to be another focal point for us. And then finally, for field operations, we have Anova Go. So this is a companion mobile app. What this allows is for installers to confidently deploy devices and track the installation, and then check at the point of install the accuracy of the level data that's coming through and the signal strength of the device once it's made its call. So it's an app that runs on your smartphone. It's downloadable on iOS and Android stores. It allows the installer to assign the device to a site and tank location, and you can look that up with the customer's name or perhaps your back office account ID, which we will store in Unify. It will provide relevant connectivity level and battery data at the time of install. And for peace of mind, we also have photo support. So if you wanted proof, or the customer wanted proof that the monitor was installed, we can snap a photo there, show that the tank monitor is installed, complete that install, move to the next one. A really nifty feature on Anova Go is the ability to use kind of lat-long data to say, well, the site's near me. So if you're the installer, we're at Mrs. Smith's house, we drive to Mr. Anderson's, not only could you look that up, but it would also say, well, here's the site that's right near you, just to make life as easy as possible for your install teams. So that wraps up kind of the core applications for Unify. What we then have is the business intelligence side of the platform. So for those on the webinar last week for advanced analytics, we spoke of Transform. And for those that weren't there, Transform is our business analytics application. It works by consuming delivery records as provided by your back office software. And then we combine this with monitored data from our Unify platform to provide insight into how your business is operating, and then allow for the planning of monitor deployments. Currently, we have over 70 distributors that provide constant delivery data into Transform. And at this point, where the number might be slightly off here, I think it's a bit higher, but we've got over 14 million delivery records over about a 10 to 12 year historic period. So we've amassed quite an amount of data. Crucially, Transform provides kind of three functions, and I like to lump them into three core functions. The first is to provide insight into your historic performance, measuring delivery efficiency over a range of industry-specific metrics. So whether that's at the enterprise level or we're focusing down on a branch, what we can look at there is what was the average fill, so how much of the tank were we filling up every time we arrive? Are there any potential run out circumstances that we've picked up in the data? Are there 0 gallon deliveries? And we can look at also like the timeliness of the delivery. So we can rank, best case fill 40 to 70%, perhaps the inefficient fills you want to set between 10 and 20. And that's what you're looking at here on that screen on the right-hand side. We're looking at tiered efficiency of deliveries, right? So you can see an undercurrent of red. Those would be the deliveries and associated with the accounts that would then say, well, maybe a monitor would help that. And so building on that theme, the second thing that Transform does is it allows for very customized deployment plans. We don't want to just blanket monitors everywhere. I think the way that to go and where we've seen monitor programs really scaled out successfully has been when you've said, let's start with perhaps our biggest district location or perhaps only residential customers, and we can create a deployment plan to say, right, let's target residential customers in districts A and B that take over 3 deliveries a year. And then Transform will return a deployment plan to say, right, well, based on those parameters, here's the best tanks to put monitors on. And the way we rank that or to provide that and measure it is the concept of savable deliveries. So Transform's got underpinning logic that says we can see that 20 deliveries were made to Mrs. Smith last year at 30% efficiency per drop. But if we were to do that at, say, 60% efficiency and use the monitor data in conjunction with our back office scheduling, how many deliveries would we need to make to deliver the same amount of gallons? And simple math, 60-30 here, you'd remove 10 deliveries. So to then rank that in the deployment plan and say, here's the tanks that you stand to gain the most by reducing the amount of drops you make. And finally, we have to measure the monitor impact. So Transform will then compare, when we reload the data, the monitored deliveries versus the unmonitored deliveries made post the deployment of your tank monitors. And we can go back to those standard metrics: average fill, run out events, gallons per drop, and then we can compare, were the monitors having an impact on operational efficiency? And it always gets better over time. I think that's a kind of a central point for the Transform stuff, which is you're going to reload data constantly, and over 3-4 years, you start to tweak the way the integration works. The dispatchers learn to trust the level data, and then you start to really see the gains in operational efficiencies as you go. And so Transform's the tool not only to measure and identify where to put the monitors, but also focus and drill down on areas that you can further improve the program. In addition, we have advanced analytics, which we spoke of last week. To quickly touch on that, it's a collection of sophisticated algorithms that work to analyze vast data sets and provide forecasted levels and days to run out or critical tank level input. The solution's based on machine learning logic, which increases the accuracy of its forecast as it consumes more data over time. So it gets more accurate the longer it's in place. And importantly, the data not only comes from our tank monitors, but also your delivery records from the back office system, and even weather data as well. So whether it's tank level, degree day data, or individual tank consumption, we're going to pull all of that data together, and the algorithms go to work to assess it. Key benefits there is, if we're able to assess all your tanks, we can put it into a practical application, like intelligently planning for your winter peak, and work to provide you tools that say, we can reduce the winter peak by pulling forward deliveries into November, October, and pushing some of those off until after winter's occurred. And again, we need to assess a vast amount of data to do that, and that's only possible through the use of intelligent algorithms. And finally, we have our digital customer engagement tool, which is Anova Connect. So Anova Connect is the application that your customers would download on their smartphone, and behind that something called it's called Mobile Marketer Engine, but you'll see it in Unify when we jump in for a demo in a second as Connect. And what that allows you to do is create targeted campaigns if you want to push information or notifications to specific customer groups. And the application itself that your customers would have on their phone provides an access to their tank level, any promotional or campaigns sent by you to the application, and it can provide historic views on their consumption and usage over time as well. And so we'll have a look at Connect during the demo. But what we're trying to do here with the digital engagement tools is really give users more control. I think it's kind of fairly common to assume that users these days, especially young ones, want access to their data and peace of mind. And generally, you've got an application for everything. So the propane industry is starting to move in the same direction. Environmentally conscious customers may want to see their CO2 emission data. We provide that as well as something that they can track. But importantly, you control what the users see. So not only can you tailor campaigns to send to specific, maybe residential customer groups in a specific location, but you can also tailor what that user sees on the application. So I think a good example here is that will call customers. You can allow them, if you have a look in the right-hand corner there, to request a refill, because that's what they would do anyway. And perhaps you nudge them with the application to say, the tank level is getting low, or a winter storm's coming up. Would you like to put in an order now? So you can kind of proactively go after the delivery instead of them calling at the last moment, which of course ruins your routing. But if it was a non-will call customer, someone that's perhaps on automatic forecasting or even has a tank monitor, we could take that functionality out. So when they look at Anova Connect, they're not going to have the ability to request a refill, which really goes against monitoring the tank in the first place and allowing you to control the delivery and do it in an efficient manner. So we're going to jump into a demo and we'll show you a couple of snapshots from each of those kind of areas of the platform. Screen here. So just confirm, Bridget, that you can see my screen.
Not yet, Daniel.
Okay. There we go.
And there it is. Thank you.
There it is. Okay, good. All right. So what we'll start with, this is the Unify platform overall. Now you may notice down the left-hand side that you can see transform, operations, devices, connect, and reporting. So all those applications we just spoke about. What we're looking at here, and I think we'll start off with the core applications, is the dashboard you see when you first log in. So most critical to the day-to-day user is, well, which of my tanks are currently low? And that's what you're going to see, right? So if we see critical tanks here and we clicked on that, we would be brought to this tanks list screen and it would automatically filter down on these tanks that are critical. I'm just going to jump between the screens because it's quite quick. I have it all preset. What we've changed and updated from some of the older platforms that we've run is these extra graphs on the dashboard. So days to critical is a really good one. I think what it shows is in the coming 7-day period, based on the current tank level and the change in tank level that we've measured day to day, so call it your daily average usage, we're going to forecast out and say, well, how many tanks are going to go, very critical or potentially get to, that 10% needs a delivery limit today or over the next 7 days. And if this starts to, shift to the left and skew left, you've got quite a bit of work ahead of you in terms of deliveries in the next 3-day period. So the higher this graph gets, the more work or forecasted critical tank levels you have in the next 7 days. And it very much matches the inventory graph below it. So this is going to show all of the tanks that you have in your population. This is a demo data set, just to let you know. And what they're going to do is say, well, there's 6 tanks between 15 and 20% right now. Right? And so you see all your tanks laid out here. And what it's trying to do is give you a view on your tertiary storage, essentially. What are my tanks like in the field? And again, if this starts to skew left, then the majority of your in-field storage is running low, and that will correlate quite closely to many deliveries in the next 7-day period, or many tanks going critical. If it starts to skew to the right, things are more full in the field, and you see more of that in summer versus say the winter peak. So that's the dashboard. You can click through, as we said, and it will bring you to the tanks list screen, which I've loaded everything on just here. And what the tanks list screen is doing is giving you level data. Its main objective is showing you in order which are my lowest to highest filled tanks. But you notice there's some other variables we can add as well. So in a generic view, you're going to get the name of the customer. If the tank has a specific ID from your back office system, it's going to be trapped here in the tank screen. And then you'll see your level data, and the color of the level corresponds to the different alarm points we have. Warning, critical, very critical. You can set filters. So perhaps you want to see things only low or equal to a certain point. You can put that in there as a percentage, and maybe you only want to look at things in alarm. So you can apply filters and then update the reporting result set that way. Why we're here, the tanks list view is also where you create those custom reports we were talking about. And I have many test ones. So if we go to this test report, you can see I've added network percentage and average daily usage, as well as the battery and the last comms of the device as well. So that's when we're starting to mix that device data with the tank level data also. And we won't create a custom report now, but we will show you how it works. So everything on the right-hand side is included in the reporting result set, and everything on the left-hand side here, be it device, tank, or site style data, you can drag and drop into the report. So no more up and down arrows, no more multiple clicks. Now it's, I want to see the city, I'm going to drag the city in there and click save. And it's as simple as that. You create the report, you save it, you make it public or private and give it a name, and then that's it. So if we leave the editing there, you can see that I've created over time a lot of different test reports all using the same name. And then I could go and schedule any of those reports with the reporting tool that you see in the left-hand corner here. So that's a quick view on the operations. The only other thing here is the fill data. This is mock data, but if we've got tank monitors measuring everything, we'll see captured fills on this screen as well. And you can export those fills and assess them. If you want to click on any tank, then you can drill down and see the consumption of the tank over time. So we've chosen quite a regular interval here. You can see the level change by the half-hour interval. And then you'll also get information about the customer on the right-hand side. This is Don and Maggie Bent. They're at this location. It's the current level of the tank. And then this is all the monitor information associated with it. So monitor has a great battery, very strong signal strength, and we'll give you the type of monitor that is as well, which will allow you to manage your new and legacy devices if you still maintain those in the field. So if we jump to the device tab, as we finished on devices, this is where you're going to get all the relevant information on the health of the unit. As a unit goes active or is operational and making phone calls, we're going to label this active. We've included an awaiting decommission example in here too, and you can see that's in our warehouse location. What that means is the unit has been removed from site and it's ready to go to sleep. So the next time it calls in, we're going to say, well, go to sleep mode, preserve that battery. So what we allow you to do here, filter on the state of the unit, whether that's active, transport means storage or in stock. And you can say, well, I want the location to be at a site or a warehouse, and then we'll provide you, an update on that location. You'll notice there's a difference in the icon here. So for that active unit, we can see it's on this bistro restaurant mock site, but for this unit that's awaiting decommission, it's been removed and we've just put it in our generic warehouse. And we spoke about asset tracking before. If that was to be a warehouse associated with a specific district, it's going to have that district's name. And so then okay, it should physically be here. Let's go find it. As with the tank screen, you can drill down on anything here. You can look at the battery, the level that's returned by that unit over time. We can look at its communications records and its current configuration as well. So everything you need to manage the devices is done from that device screen. So that's Unify's kind of core side. And then quickly to give you a few.
Actually, Daniel, before we jump over to the next section, we have a quick question here back on all the tanks in order of criticalness. So the question is, what's the criteria for the critical tank, etc.? What tank percentage is associated with each?
Yep, they can all be individual. It's a great question. They can all be individually set. When we first create your distributor in Unify, we set a generic set of thresholds, and we'll also allow you to set tank categories over time to say, my residential tank category might be 30, 20, 10. But if it was a storage tank, you can individually edit each tank and say, right, well, this is a 30,000 gallon storage tank, and there might be, a run of bobtails in winter. So 30, 20, 10, that's way too late to know that thing's starting to drop in level. So we want to make it 50, 40, 30. So you can individually change any tank. We don't put any constraints on that whatsoever.
So you decide what's critical.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the question.
No problem. All right, so I'm going to jump into transform here, and I'm just going to quickly lower the screen a little bit so I can jump between the tabs. Okay. Right. So having a look at transform very quickly, because we covered this last week. Just some of those key screens that we talked about before. Performance summary, going to give you the historic 1,000-foot view of the delivery efficiency of the company. We're looking at average fill, having a measure of the savable deliveries that we think you can achieve with the use of monitoring and level data integration to your back office and forecasting software. And then we'll track those 0 gallon deliveries, runouts, and any truck data as well. If we look at average fill, we can then say, right, month to month, you can see there's 2 columns here. The yellow is trapping the average fill for your monitored deliveries, and the gray column is the average fill for your unmonitored deliveries. So some of these historic assessment screens combine that, monitor impact performance in them as well. And that's what you're looking at here. And this is real data based on 3 or 4 companies we work with. It's all been anonymized. And amongst those 4 companies, you can see that they've achieved a much higher average fill for their monitored accounts. Right? So this is one way that we track the efficiency of the monitor program. We can then look at that review fill efficiency and say, well, what were the best case fills for our monitored accounts? Maybe we want to switch that to unmonitored and say, right, what's the difference? And here you'll see that the green shrunk considerably. and the yellow and the red tier went up considerably. So for the unmonitored deliveries here year to year, a lot more of them are made between the 2 and 45% range. And if you looked at those monitored deliveries, you're going to see a lot more green. So a lot of them push into the 45 to 67 range. And just like the level alarms, you set these tiers here, or we can help you set them when we run through Transform. So we want to align Transform's determination of efficiency to your company metrics if you have them in place as well. That's it's completely customizable. And then finally, on the deployment plan side, just to give you a quick snapshot here, we can do the custom deployment plans, but before we do that, we give you a view to say, let's rank all of the tank locations you have, and I'll pick on the 10 here. So what we're saying is there are 10 tanks that took 6 deliveries in 2021, and on average, they were between 20 and 30% delivery percentage put into the tank. So anything in the green and that count, they are the tanks that provide the best ROI on any monitor investment, whether you're buying those CapEx or with the Anova HARS program, there's a positive payback on that monitor once deployed because of the fuels that you can save by delivering more efficiently. So that's a quick snapshot of Transform. And then I'm going to try and do here, if I stop sharing, I'm going to try and share my phone screen. I had set up was an overconnect. So
Looking
we've
good.
got, that was seamless. Daniel's home heat here. All right, so there's actually a tank monitor right next to me. And this tank monitor has been sitting in my windowsill for about a year. And currently I'm out of gas. So it's 5% level here. You can see I've got the ability to request a refill. Let's say I'm a will call customer. But what I'm showing here is what your customers would see if they were using an overconnect. So importantly, they get a view on the alarm points for their tank. You can see that the critical inside, the inside scale there in the red and yellow, we're showing the critical and warning alarms. And I've got my daily usage estimate as well. So given that this monitor actually hasn't changed from 5% level in some time, it's saying, well, there's 90 days until that 0.5 of a gallon actually runs out. But you know, in real life, that would be quite different. If it's a 120 gallon tank in the Northeast and you're using 3 or 4 gallons a day, you're going to get a specific set amount of days to 40%, to 20 and to 90. And importantly for your customers, that's newer information, right? If it's the middle of winter and the average person sees their tank at 20%, they might think, I might be out of gas tomorrow. It's freezing and I've got the heater on. But they might consume less gas than they think each day. So for them, and say for a will call customer, if it says, well, you've still got 30 days to empty, there's more, faith that they have that they don't need to call right then for a delivery. Right, so we're trying to give them as much information as possible, but also not throw off your operational efficiency at the same time. I can then come over to yearly, right? And what this is going to show me is I've got my carbon footprints set up. So I'm going to get a certain amount of emissions, kilograms of CO2, but I've got my usage in gallons over the last 12 months, and I've got my forecasted gallon usage for next year as well. You can also look at this in a monthly view, but the yearly looks better for the monitor set in my window. But you can see the level data change over time, month to month. And you can see my usage in gallons month to month as well down the bottom. So as a user, you've got access to that in both yearly and monthly form. And importantly, you as the propane marketer get to set what is seen here. So you don't want that carbon footprint tile there. You can remove that in the Unify platform, and then that doesn't appear for that customer. You can also see that I've got some notifications. So here is some different automated alarms we've got. So you can see 26th of October, your tank's gone critical, right? So I've got an automated notification that says, alert Daniel if anything happens with the tank level getting below the set alarm thresholds. You can also see, if I scroll back, that there was a promo for biofuel. So I, as the propane marketer, have sent a message to myself in this case, but to the customer, and it's basically been, there's 10% off, B20 propane if you want a blended mix. And you can allow the customer to respond to that. A little tile will pop up down the bottom, and they can respond to that promotion. And then that's all trapped back in the Unify platform, and it will show you the click rate and the response rate for any promotions that you do run. And then finally, if I click on this question mark in the top right corner, We've got some frequently asked questions. How do I contact my supplier for support? How do I purchase propane? You can actually change the FAQs completely, and you can attach an email to request service as well. So if there was a request service email attached here, if I clicked on that, we have generic service requests. You know, I smell gas being a critical one, or my flame's not coming on, stuff like that. And then you can automate an email back to your service team that would get that feedback from the customer. And as a
Dan, a couple of questions have come through. Good opportune time, I think, to pose those.
Sure.
So just to reiterate, you can also limit what the customer sees, correct? That's one of the questions.
Yes, you can. Okay.
And the other question is there a cost for the app, Anova Connect?
For Anova Connect, there is a cost structure associated with Anova Connect. The first 100 customers are free of charge, and then we've set it up to kind of scale depending on how many users you have. So there's we can send pricing structure specifically to you. If we capture your email there and your contact information, we can reach out with pricing. You know, if you've got 2,000 people using it, there is a cost associated, and that scales over time. So the more users you have, the cost per user goes down, and it's charged on a monthly basis. But if you want to leave your contact details there, then our sales team can reach out with specific pricing information and structure.
Okay. And one last question here. What is the common return on investment of installing monitors?
Of installing monitors, if we are assessing that with Transform, what we aim to do when we run the deployment plan. So a couple of ways to approach this question. I generally think with or we've analyzed with the current cost of monitoring being how it is in the industry, you know, say capital upfront and ongoing monthly fees, you can probably monitor 30 to 35% of your tanks straight off the bat and get a return based purely off savable fuels. And for there, we typically see in the range of 0.5 to 3 years payback, if we're using payback period as a measure. And that's the one we have in the Transform program. Then we typically see between 1 and 2.5 years as a common payback period. And let's say that's on your first deployment of 1,500 or 1,000 monitors, because the sites that Transform's going to recommend you go put those monitors on are the ones that have received the most deliveries and can thus save the most deliveries as well. As you continue to scale the monitor program over time, and you start to get to that 40% of your tanks are monitored point, the return per tank monitored in terms of savable dollars from saved deliveries reduces. But then you're starting to look at monitoring to do different things. So it's not just about saving delivery and reducing the direct distribution cost, but it's about pervasive monitoring and saying, well, now I want to right size the truck fleet, or I want to reshuffle the trucks so that District A doesn't need 7 trucks. District B might better be suited to have 2 of those. So now you're monitoring to achieve, supply chain optimization. When do I fill my storage tank? And other goals that we typically work on. That journey in itself, as we talked about last week on the webinar, that's, that phase 2 truck optimization, that tends to be years 3+. Yeah.
We've got a flurry of questions. I'm going to ask just a couple more, if you can be brief on these, and we'll get over to how you actually get onto Unify.
Yeah,
so can we add our logo and brand to the app?
You absolutely can. Yeah, that's actually one thing I did miss. It's white labeled, so you can add anything you want there. Color scheme, photo.
And does this strictly tie into the propane tanks gauge, or is other technology used? The issue we've always run into with monitors relates to the gauge sticking. How is this avoided with your device?
The propane monitor itself isn't going to say the gauge is stuck. What we'll notice on the platform side, or call it the server side of the equation, is that there's no move in tank level over time. So in some of the legacy platforms, if anybody used GasLog, we had stuck gauge rules, and there we were saying, if the tank doesn't change for this many days and it's under or over this level and it's this time of the year, return that as a potential stuck gauge. The way we're going to approach that in Unify, and it's not released for Unify yet, it's in development, is to kind of build on that rule-based start gauge logic, but to incorporate the advanced analytics and machine learning algorithms as well. So what we'll do in terms of start gauge, and what we'll aim to do, is to say, we believe this stage is stuck because the trend in level consumption just isn't matching the time of year and the historic usage for that customer. Then it's up to your service and install teams and techs to go actually replace the float gauge itself. But we'll do as much as we can with the data to say, we believe this is an issue.
Mm-hmm. Right. And of course, the UTM has a whole range of sensors available for it now as well. Correct. If you happen to be in Nashville this weekend, early next, stop by the Anova booth number 409 and come and see our new heavy duty differential pressure sensor for fluids. So the UTM can attach 5 different sensors to it to do all sorts of crazy things. So there's that. Cindy's got a couple of questions. I'm going to combine it all into one. Can you do bulk setup for large installs, and can you template that? So for example, commercial, residential, heat only, cooking only, etc.
Yes.
Okay, there you go, Cindy. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, let's go back to the deck here. We've got a quick audience poll, and then we'll get into how you actually move over, and we'll get to the rest of the questions at the end, if not during. All right, so our next poll question, we can bring that up, please. So based on what you've seen so far in the slides and the demonstration, what gets you most excited about this incredible platform, Anova Unify? You can pick many of them, but it's helpful just to pick 1 or 2 that you think are the most exciting. So please use your webinar controls now and cast your votes. We have we're at 27%, and we have a clear leader. Well, we've got three that are out there leading. Okay, let's scroll down and see the rest of them. Oh, we've got quite a few there. Okay, we're at 70%. Come on, folks. Let's try to get to 77 like we did before, or even 80. Oh, we're at 78. Excellent. Okay, let's call it now, end that poll, and share those results of everybody. It ended up being neck and neck, which is kind of interesting. Let's share those results. There we go. So the industry-leading advanced analytics, very powerful, 63%, but also 63% is being able to put all my devices in one place. So if you've got all your Anova monitors out there and maybe some others, you can actually pull the readings into Anova Unify, all in one place. How convenient is that? And then of course, 60% on all my Anova apps in one place. Very exciting stuff for all of us. Thank you so much for that. That's great information. We cut and paste these results and put them right into the recording that we'll be sending out to you probably tomorrow. So you'll also have that information. So watch for that follow-up email. All right. Let's move back to the presentation, please. And I'd like to introduce Avril Botma. So Avril is our Director of Migrations, specifically focused on Anova Unify migrations right now. And she's going to walk us through that journey for you.
Thanks, Bridget. Avril. And thank you, Daniel. Now that you've seen all the benefits, features, and functions of Anova Unify, we're very sure you'll be very eager to migrate. So our aim is to make this process as easy as possible for all our customers. So it's as simple as this. You give us some key information and we'll do the work, right? So I'll take you through the migration process and the journey now. Next slide, please, Valerie. So our migration process is very versatile. It allows us to adjust for each of our customers that we move into the migration process, depending on the heritage platform that they're moving from. We've got 4 key process points that I'm going to discuss with you today. Those are customer management, data replication, device migration, and user switchover. So we're going to go into each of these in a little bit more detail now, and we're going to start with customer migration. So next slide, please. Thank you. So we know your organization is unique. So we're going to tailor your operational structure in Anova Unify around your business requirements. This is where we're going to need your input, and we may even need some additional data from you. But it's going to be this collaboration and this continuous engagement throughout the process that's going to ensure an easy and seamless migration. Our role in the project management and migration team is not only to support you through the migration process, but to make sure that your users are comfortable with the new platform and all the functions within the new platform. We'll therefore provide all the training to your users, and our CS teams will continue to support all the users as usual. Next is the data replication. Now this is where things start getting interesting. So once we have all your information and any additional information that we need, we're going to map and plan your integration of the data into the Anova Unify platform. Through customer engagement, and again, contacting you and talking to you about what we're doing, we will agree the migration date and we will replicate the data. We will also ensure that you have over 2 years worth of historical information available for reporting or analytical purposes. And where our customers use integrations, we'll assist in getting these set up for you. We'll fully test them and make sure they're operational. It's very important at this point to understand that because of our rigorous standards within the Anova Unify process, we will continuously back up your data throughout the migration process, so no risk or no concern to you. On to the next slide, please. Oh, but too far. We need to go back to device migration. Thank you. So from a device migration perspective, the device migration is the step in the process that links your device to your point in your the actual point within your structural process where that device is going to operate. Devices can be migrated onto the Unify platform at any point during the process. We already have some of our customers that have their device hosted in Unify, and they're still working on our heritage platform. But this shows that there's successful communication between the two, and there's no interruption and delay in information and getting information through to our heritage platform users for those customers that where we've moved devices already and the customers will move closer. Well, we've already engaged customers and we're starting to move them over. Our last step in the process is the user switchover. So the last slide, please. Well, second last slide. Users access into the applications within Anova Unify are driven by permission settings. Using differing apologies, step back. Users can have differing functionality within each levels of the application. Dan spoke about this earlier. And as you can see on the screen, you've got your little permission screen there, and it shows all the applications in that permission screen. We've set that up so that you can see you could potentially have differing levels of functionality within each of those applications. Identified users will be created in Anova Unify prior to the switchover. Each user will get a activation email, which will prompt the user to set up their own password and activate their account. Sorry, tongue twister. Individual customers will receive switchover dates, which will be communicated prior and agreed to prior the migration. Once the migration is complete, however, we will remove user access from heritage platforms, allowing the users then to exclusively work on Anova Unify. So this then begs the question, when will you migrate? We are committed to ensuring that we work with each customer individually. We will make sure that and determine a timeline that works for you. A migration can be very daunting. We completely understand that. But again, we've said at the beginning, we'll do the work. You give us the information and we'll get it done for you. We really look forward to working with each of you through your migration process. And again, thank you for joining us today. Back to you, Bridget.
Thanks, Avril. So pretty straightforward. We do most of the work. You give us a few parameters to work with. Hopefully that's that's acceptable for everyone on the call here. We do have some questions that have come in. One of them jumps back to the stuff that Daniel was talking about, and got some other ones that also talk about migration. So let's just ask Daniel first up. If someone has, here's the question, if we have our own app for customers, can the Anova app be integrated with that so that customers don't require two different apps to look at tank levels and pay bills and etc.?
Connect itself doesn't necessarily integrate with, but the Anova platform does. So again, just speak from a practical example. We have customers that we've worked with or companies that we've worked with where if you're controlling the application, or maybe it's Deskwin, or you've got an in-house user portal, you would use the API that are available in Unify to pull the data you need to then process into your application. So perhaps you've got a customer application or portal that shows their billing information that was part of the question there, and you want tank level added to that. Well, then there's an API you can call specifically to get tank level, and then you can get the customer account ID and the tank ID also, and you can pull that information in, process it in your software, and then add it to your user portal. So I think that would be the way that you'd approach it. We have an open API infrastructure, and you can freely call whatever data we have there.
Thanks, Daniel. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left, and we've got a few other questions here. One for you, Avril. What will Anova Unify cost, and what will the migration cost?
Right, so both are included in your monthly monitoring fees already. So no additional cost to you. The migration itself, all the training and all that is covered as part of your monthly costs. It is in our interest and our customers too to get you into Anova Unify, and yeah, where it's all covered in your monthly costs already.
Yeah, that's assuming you're already a customer of Anova.
Absolutely.
Or Growmark or whoever else is out there. Thank you again out to our partners. Yeah, so and if you're new to it and have that question, we can also put you in touch with one of our sales folks who can give you pricing to join Anova and to become a part of this wonderful community. Okay, another question. I use both Westrock and Gaslog devices, so is that an issue?
Yeah,
I'll put that out to either of you.
Dan, do you want to go for it? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No, it's not. Avril talked about data replication and also user cutover and device cutover as well. So the way we've set things up, to keep it simple, is if you can imagine, we have our Westrock, Gaslog, and even the ISA legacy platforms there, and there are devices associated with each of those legacy platforms. We support them in Unify, and we've built the comm server support, and we'll basically create an integration first to each of the legacy applications, pull over all your data, and once we've got that data replication set up, then we start, once you're used to using the platform, then we start migrating the devices. And what we really mean is update the IP address so they call into Unify, and we support all the legacy devices on Unify centrally. So it doesn't matter to us which mix you use, we'll be able to host them natively on the Unify platform.
Okay, and is there an application for the installers?
Yes, that would be Anova Go. So when we talked about field operations, Anova Go is that companion application that runs on your smartphone. I think we actually have some marketing materials on that as well, but if you're specifically interested in that, we can also set up a session with you, webinar style, and we can demonstrate how Anova Go works for you and your install teams. Just reach out to myself or Bridget, and we can get that sorted.
Okay, well, we're at time. We had one quick question about if you have a current integration with back office software. All good, right?
We are good. Avril and I will agree on this one completely. We want to mitigate as much risk as possible with migration. So the way we do it is, once you've got data replication set up, but you're still using the legacy platform that has your current integration, we'll actually create an integration, whether that be API or batch, from Unify as well. And then once we're satisfied they are both working in sync and providing the same data accurately, then we can switch off one and maintain the new integration in Unify. So we'll, win those plans that Avril talked about, where we get with you to put a plan together, we'll account for all of that stuff as well.
Okay, well, we've got a suggestion from Kim, and it's a good one. Let's have a webinar on Anova Go. Love it.
Easy.
Thank you, Kim.
We can do that. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you to our experts, Daniel and Avril. Their emails are on screen. Feel free to reach out to them if you've got any further questions. They'd love to hear from you, honestly. And as I mentioned, we'll be in Nashville this weekend and early next week for the MPGA Southeastern Convention. So if you're also attending, we're at booth 409, Anova's booth. Daniel will be on hand. Daniel and our CEO, Matt Toon, have education sessions at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. And I'll be hosting the Women in Propane Roundtable on effective public speaking. So hopefully you think I'm qualified for the job. But please do take a moment as you exit. We've got just 2 simple questions in our exit survey. It's so helpful. And again, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for participating and all the questions. We really appreciate it. And you know, stay tuned for the next in the Anova webinar series from us. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of the day.
So yeah.
Bye-bye.